Hey everyone, welcome back to Williamson Ridge Outdoors. Today we are standing at the front of our tractor because we're going to be using it as a sawhorse. Now I have Bora speed horses that I absolutely love, but they happen to be at a different location right now and I don't have them available to set up. So we're going to use our tractor forks, and you know, this actually works really good. Good solid surface to be able to do a little bit of wood cutting and that kind of stuff on. But anyways, today's video is actually going to be about making a dolly for our portable fuel tank or our diesel tank. So a few weeks ago, I got a portable 58-gallon diesel storage tank from Vevor. I wanted to be able to put it in my shed and have it in a portable manner even under there. So I don't want to set it down and just be stuck to that one area. So I set it on a dolly in that video, and that dolly's working okay, but the problem is it overhangs the dolly a little bit, and I'm afraid that, you know, if I'm pushing it a little bit and it hangs up on a rock or something, then it's going to push that off the dolly. So what I'm going to do today is actually make a dolly for it. So the first cuts I'm going to make are two 2x6s. I'm going to make them 36 inches long. So I want the 2x4s to be flush with the sides, and then on the inside of the 2x4s is going to be the length and the width of the tank. So you can see pretty much how our platform is going to be right here. Now I am going to put a brace across this, or another piece like this, because that way the bottom of the tank is going to be sitting on this like a flat deck pretty much. And then I'm also going to put a couple fillers in here just to keep, you know, the weight sitting flush all the way across, so that there's not anywhere that it can kind of sag down. Plus it having that 2x6 across the middle, it's going to really keep the middle of the tank from having any sag or drop in it. So before I run any screws or anything in this, I want to lay out where my caster is going to be at. Now the caster is going to be on the other side. The reason I want to lay it out is because I'm going to screw these pieces together, and I want to not have it interfere with my bolts that are going to bolt the casters on. Now these casters I got at Harbor Freight. I think these actually were about 15 bucks a piece, but they're rated for 375 pounds each, and they have a 5-inch wheel on them. So I wanted something pretty good size so I didn't have to worry about this rolling over rocks or little gravel and stuff. They also have a grease fitting on them so that you can grease the bearings in it. So I can put screws pretty much anywhere inside this or around the outside, as long as it's not interfering with these bolt holes. So I'm going to pre-drill the top board, that way my screws don't move anything. And I'm using 2.5-inch decking screws. These are treated boards, and they are a coated screw, so I don't have to worry about them being corroded by the treated material. I'm taking the screw heads just below the surface a little bit. So now we just got to do that 2 more times, and we'll have the actual frame pretty much built, or the platform, other than filling in a few empty spots. .46 5/8. 46 5/8. That's dead on the money. All right, so I'm putting a 2x6 right here in the middle, and there's 9.5 inches exactly in between these. So as you can see, to make this platform solid, I'm just going to put a couple 2x6s right here. That way there's not a drop right here. And I've realized that I have a little flaw in my design here. My perimeter that I'm going to put on here, you know, I'm going to have some really long screws to be able to get that 3.5 inch 2x4 fastened all the way around, because where I kind of doubled up, or am going from, this is going to be the platform side where the tank is sitting on. And so the perimeter, I was going to have the 2x4s going around it to have like a little cage to set it down in. But in order to attach those sitting up here, I've got 3.5 inches, or I've got 3 inches of board here to have to go through, or 3.5 inches on my 2x4s. So I'm going to go ahead and drill for my casters, because earlier where I marked these out from the top side, it doesn't matter whether you drill it from the top or bottom. So I am going to drill that. So one of these holes didn't line up real good, so I just took my drill bit and just kind of wallered it just a little bit, because the bottom side was it was angled in a little bit. You're putting a bolt down through that metal plate, so you don't have to worry about the holes not being perfect. But I am going to pull these carriage bolts down pretty tight, and probably pull them down below the wood just a little bit, because I don't want the tank sitting on the bolts. And if I can't pull them down with my wrench, then I may end up pulling them back out and just kind of recessing the holes, drilling it just a hair so they'll go down below that. But like I was saying earlier, these are treated, and you can see the treatment, the water squirting out of the wood, and that did pull those down below that top surface. Now, one thing I do want to point out, this thing is not light by any means. The casters on this thing are pretty heavy themselves. Plus, we basically have 2 layers of 2x6s. But I wanted it to be strong because I didn't want it to have any sags anywhere or have to worry about anything happening to it. Or as I'm putting the tank on here with the tractor, if I happen to set my forks down and push some pressure on this thing, you know, I don't want to have to worry about it collapsing or anything happening to it, because I put a little bit of weight on it with my forks. These casters are rated at 375 pounds each. So this thing should be able to hold about 1,500 pounds. So it's getting dark, so I'm gonna call it an evening today, but we'll come back out here in the morning and finish this thing up. So as you can see here, I went around the entire border with a 2x4, and I put 2 36-inch sides on it, and then put a 27-inch across the middle. And to fix the problem with putting a screw all the way down through the 2x4, I pre-drilled a hole about 1.5 inches down into the 2x4, and then screwed it down into the bottom. So that actually worked good. These things are solid as a rock. The sides, everything is super solid on this. It's not going to go anywhere. And then I just put these little front pieces right here on, of course tied them into the sides, and then screwed them straight down. These pieces right here on the front are 5 inches, and that's to allow our fork enough room on each side to be able to come in here. And then it should be just a hair shorter than where the fork pockets actually are, so I don't have to worry about hitting these with the forks or anything. So I'm sure there's other ways to do this. You know, this is just the way that I did it. I'm not saying it's the right way, but hopefully it just gives somebody some ideas to maybe help them get started on a project like this themselves. So as you can see right now, I've got the dolly sitting here, and you can see the tractor tracks this up. There's dirt and stuff everywhere. I kind of swept out any of the big stuff, and this cart actually rolls okay, but you can see it hangs off the sides, and I'm afraid that I'm going to be pushing that. Maybe it'll hang up on a gravel or something, and that tank will go sliding off there, and that's 500 pounds of diesel fuel sitting in it. So this is another thing too. I got my forks set up, and I can't get the tractor in here because I'm still too close to the wall. So even on this little dolly, I can kind of roll it over and scoot it over and make room for the tractor to get in here. I should have put a cutout in the back of it too, because my forks, if I run them all the way through and like past the back of the tank, then I can't set the tank down because of the back rail. And doing it like I did the front and just putting these tabs on here, because they're going to be solid enough. Those things are on there really good and tight. So that allows me plenty of room for my forks to go through. But like I say, I had the fork sticking through on the back side, and I couldn't lower the tank down because I've got this one all the way across. As you can see, it fits nicely on our dolly, and it looks good and secure. It's good and solid. So now I can move this thing around, and I don't have to worry about it coming off the cart. So you can see pretty much how easy I can move this thing around. I mean, it doesn't take any force at all to push it, which is kind of what I was looking for, because that smaller dolly, I kind of had to push pretty hard on it, and then I had to worry about pushing it off that dolly. So that is actually great. I am really happy with that. That allows me to pull the tractor in the shed and keep that thing back in the corner, and then if I need to get fuel, then, you know, all I have to do is back up somewhere close to the shed, and then I can just hook it up to the tractor and, you know, wheel that thing out to reach the tractor. And now it's not hard to do at all. And like I was saying before, I don't have to worry about my cart failing on me. One thing that I might end up changing on this though, I might end up putting 2 casters on it that are just the straight casters instead of having all 4 of them swivel casters. And that's because I noticed whenever I would go to push it, that if one of them's turned sideways, then it takes a little bit sometimes to wiggle that and make it turn around to where it'll roll straight. So I may change that to where you just basically steer it from one end and the other end is just straight. I think that'll actually work out just as good, or maybe better actually, because it seems like I'm fighting those casters turning a little bit. So we'll have to see with that, and I'll continue to mess with it, and I'll let you know in a future video if I change that. But it's something to think about, because I did have a little bit of trouble getting it started sometimes. I hope this video helps you out. I hope you enjoyed it. This is just a little project that, you know, is kind of making my life a little bit easier with another item that was making my life a whole lot easier. So by having that portable diesel tank is just awesome. I love having that and not having to do the 5-gallon cans all the time, and then having it even more portable underneath my shed and being able to wheel it around is just that much better. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.